Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great Friday so far. Let's see what we have in the chat this evening. We have Ben, we have Cruz, as well as History Facts, Lily, Kaylee, Catman, Brooklyn, let me see, JD, Johnny, let's see, Livid, as well as everyone else who is tuning in who may not be watching, or if you're just chatting and I missed your chat, welcome to the live stream double as well, and Sam. So let's go ahead, and Twilight as well. Let's go ahead and dive right on into this main scene. Hopefully everything is okay. Everything looks good to go. Good. So yeah, we have a Category 4 hurricane again out here in the Eastern Pacific going towards the Central Pacific. That's what we're looping. Thankfully, that is not the storm out there in the Northern Atlantic. This is a completely different basin from 91L. So this is the storm that's heading towards Hawaii. Thank goodness we've got a lot of dry air that's going to be able to help weaken it. And then once it gets very close to Hawaii, we'll have some wind shear that also will help tear it apart. So this thing is back to Category 4. It is currently, I believe, 130 mile per hour sustained winds, but forecasted to get to 145 again tonight. I think this is the fourth time. I think it is the fourth time that it's going to be able to re-intensify up to 145. It did that, I don't even know how long ago, like 3 days ago, and then literally yesterday, and it weakened to Category 3. And the NHC said, okay, Category 3, 130, or rather Category 3, 120 max. And then obviously this evening re-intensified right on up to 130 mile per hour Cat 4. Now they fixed their forecast to say 145 Category 4. So the forecast definitely has been very wobbly in terms of the intensity, but the track hasn't changed too much. It did shift a little bit more north, thankfully. You could see the exact projected track is quite a bit more north, but it hasn't had any wild shifts over the last 24 to 48 hours. So hopefully that is going to stay the case. Hopefully it keeps that northern track. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does go a little bit closer to Hawaii than what the NHC is forecasting. And don't worry about it being a Category 4 hit in Hawaii. That's not going to happen. We are going to have to keep an eye on for some tropical storm impacts for Hawaii, but a hurricane is highly unlikely, especially one of this magnitude. It will weaken as we go into probably Sunday evening is when it will really start that weakening process, maybe even Monday. And it's going to get to Hawaii, I believe, sometime Tuesday into Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, is when it's supposed to get there towards Hawaii, September 9th. And then we do have an AOI behind that. And then, of course, we do have a 91L, which is downtrended all across the board out there across the main development region. So, thankfully, yesterday we were doing our live stream. I called the European model run an outlier because every other model run was showing it intensifying. But overnight, every single model and all the ensembles caved to the European model. So, because of that, the NHC was like, okay, this thing doesn't look like it's going to be developing anytime soon in the next 2 days. We're dropping the 2-day chances, and in the next 7 days, this thing could still not even develop into a depression. So we're going to drop that from 90 down to 70. So they've decreased the chance of us seeing a tropical storm or a tropical depression out of 91L. And that is really, really good news. However, this is something that's pretty unique here. Seeing models completely cave into a scenario of a tropical system not forming in a quite favorable environment 5 days before the absolute peak of hurricane season is very, 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 very rare. That is really rare to see. So something is not that good with our model runs. Our model runs have definitely not been really that great this hurricane season. And hopefully they're correct this time on it completely not forming. But I would still keep an eye on this system. Just like people were for sure it was going to head out to sea, and then 2 days later the thing trended 100 miles south. This could very easily trend back up to the case of it likely becoming a tropical storm. So we want to keep a very close eye on this system, even though it no longer looks like it's going to be a hurricane or a major hurricane or something over the top here. If I go ahead and show you in the main development region here, it is a very small system. And these small systems are very easily impacted by very small scale things. For instance, the vorticity blob that is located down here, and then 91L is located somewhere generally up here. So we've got two different low pressures, and these easily could end up merging and helping the storm or hurting the storm. We just want to watch it closely. I'm not going to fully write this off as a nothing burger, right? I'm not going to continue to say, it's going to do absolutely nothing or form into a major hurricane. We're going to go with the medium here, which is probably a tropical depression, maybe a low-end tropical storm at this point. A low-end tropical storm is still possible, but it is starting to look less and less likely. But again, things could easily trend the other direction. Right now, they've trended very well towards this system not being anything more than a low-end tropical storm. They could easily go back on that. Let me see here. Let's see. So yeah, we're just going to keep a very close eye on this system. Just keep an eye on it. It's nothing to really worry about. If you are in the Lesser Antilles, though, I do highly recommend you pay very close attention to this because there is a good chance you still get impacts. This is a big thing, too. Regardless of this, if this becomes a tropical storm, tropical depression, or hurricane, regardless if it even becomes a low-wind 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm, the Lesser Antilles will likely see impacts from this in the form of flash flooding, mudslides, some wind speeds, some higher surfs, rip currents. They're going to see some forms of impacts from the system, even if it doesn't develop whatsoever. Microphone's a little bit low there. There we go. It still looks a little bit low on Streamlabs. Is the audio good for you guys? Am I using the correct microphone? Hopefully it sounds at least good. It might be a little low. I don't know why, because it's pretty close. What is up with this microphone today? Why have you decided to go quiet? Okay, is that really loud? Okay, that's pretty loud. All right, I'll turn it up just a little bit, but I'm not going to turn it up too much because then it's going to go, yeah, it's back into the red now, so it's a bit better. But I don't want to have to be talking very loudly just for it to get up to that red zone. All right, but let's go ahead and switch over to severe weather because that is actually what the main portion of this live stream is. We've shifted from tropical activity to severe weather now. You can see for today's risk, we're going to go over to WeatherWise because it's just better. And I have it pulled up right here. There we go. Little quiet. It's fine. Clear sound. As long as it's clear. If it's a little quiet, people can adjust that on their end. I just put it up to pretty good on my end. So If it's still a little quiet, turn it up a bit. I'm not like Lucky, so I'm not going to be screaming in your ears like he does. So for today, we have a slight risk for severe weather. That's a level 2 out of 5 for severe storms. This is centered over from northern Alabama, northeastern Mississippi, through much of Tennessee, good chunk of eastern Kentucky, even onto the borders there of southeastern Ohio, northwestern West Virginia. The main threat today is definitely the potential for a brief tornado or two, as well as some damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. And we can't rule out the isolated hailstone up to about 1.5-inch hail or so. So we'll need to keep an eye on the hail threat, wind threat, and that tornado threat for today. But really, I'm not expecting it to be anything too over the top. Just a couple of these storms are going to be able to be severe. That is... Is something wrong with the warnings on... Okay, yeah, something is... I know I just said weatherwise is better there, but something's up with the warnings. I'm going to refresh that because I've had this open for a while. So let's just hit the refresh button there. Okay, that fixed it at least a bit there. So there you go. Yeah, we have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings here, but these are just ordinary severe. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail for the one in Kentucky. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1.25-inch hail for the one in southwest Tennessee. And you can see that big pink severe thunderstorm watch there on your screen. So if you're anywhere in that watch area, just make sure you're weather aware, keep an eye on the skies. A lot of thunder, a lot of heavy rainfall, and then a couple of you guys are going to see those 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. A few may see that 1-inch to 1.5-inch hailstone risk. And there's even the chance we do end up with the chance of a tornado for a couple people here. That main 2% tornado risk really is going to be focused across Kentucky. That's the main area for tornadoes today. But thankfully, it doesn't look over the top at the moment. It doesn't really seem like it's an overly, like a 5% tornado risk or a chance for strong tornadoes or anything like that. We're just looking at a brief tornado or two with any storms that can take advantage of that environment. Probably closer to the late evening hours, closer to nightfall when that wind shear increases a bit. That will be our best tornado threat. But again, it's still pretty low. Then going into tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is actually a bit of a unique setup. We've got a huge marginal level 1 out of 5 and a pretty large level 2 out of 5 slight risk. Slight risk level 2 out of 5 in the yellow, 1 out of 5 in that dark green. And this is a bit more unique because of the tornado risk. We've got a 2% tornado risk out here from Maine all the way down into Pennsylvania and New Jersey. But I do think this will be upgraded to a 5% tornado risk. I know. It's been like, it feels like it's been 4 months or 5 months since the last time we talked about a good tornado risk. But it seems like tomorrow has a pretty good chance for a couple tornadoes. And if we can really get wind shear to get going, I wouldn't even rule out a strong tornado tomorrow. If a discrete storm can really get going as that wind shear increases, especially... Let's see. Looks like that wind shear is probably going to be the best. See, so your storms are most discrete towards 2 o'clock Eastern, but your wind shear is the best towards 8 p.m. Eastern. The big problem is storms are going to congeal up into a line probably at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So that main tornado risk is going to be overlapped between the best wind shear and the best storm mode, because if everything's linear, you might as well just throw it in the bag. This is going to do nothing. But if we can get a discrete supercell mixed with some of that better wind shear, which I think our best chance for that would be close to 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time when those storms are likely just starting to fire, that will probably be our greatest tornado threat. And I do think this 2% tornado risk will be expanded further into Maine, because newer guidance does show a better chance for tornadoes back up into Maine as well. And I think we'll see a 5% tornado risk introduced, maybe somewhere up in New Hampshire, kind of in this area looks to be the best chance for tornadoes tomorrow. So I expect we'll see, a couple tornadoes, maybe even a strong one tomorrow. That's really what we're dealing with. And then damaging winds of 70 miles per hour will likely occur. And we could even see some hailstones near 2-inch in diameter. The hail threat is definitely dependent off of if we get any good discrete storms to get going. So Make sure you are hyper weather aware if you are back up in the northeastern U.S. for tomorrow's severe weather threat. But again, that main threat is definitely damaging winds. You can see that huge yellow area. That's your 15% chance of 58-mile-per-hour winds every 25 miles of a given point. And then the very large brown hail risk, 5% chance of around 1-inch in diameter hail every 25 miles of a given point. So the tornado risk is definitely the lowest, but it's still present, which is pretty rare for the northeastern U.S. this time of year. I mean, September 6th will be tomorrow. Pretty rare to see a tornado risk. And like I said, I think they'll upgrade that for tomorrow. Yeah. Of course, the main tornado risk is probably going to end up being right in this radar hole. It's probably going to end up being just east of the Albany radar site and northwest of the, I don't know what this radar is here, but it's just the southeastern Massachusetts radar site. So that's, like I said, that's probably the main area for tornadoes tomorrow. It ain't going to be like a tornado outbreak. I do want to mention that. We're not talking about like a tornado outbreak or like 10, 15 tornadoes. I'm talking about 1 or 2 tornadoes, one of which may be able to be strong. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a tornado outbreak caliber event up here in the Northeast. I think some people are forgetting that updraft helicity tracks don't correlate to violent tornadoes. A lot of those updraft helicity tracks on the HRRR and the NAM3K is correlated to actually wind and isolated large hail. The wind shear for tomorrow is not very high. We're talking about 100 to 150 0 to 1 kilometer SRH in the best environment, which should be in that area I circled here in white. So it's not going to be the utmost best wind shear environment. Now, if that shear is a bit higher, then we could be talking a bit higher on the tornado count there, which the NAM3K has a bit better wind shear, but it's the NAM3K. What else are you expecting? Unfortunately, I planned something tomorrow. Like 2 weeks ago, we planned something to do tomorrow with the family. So I'm not going to be able to cover tomorrow's event whatsoever unless I'm home in time to cover it. But most likely I'm not going to be able to cover tomorrow's event. Which, like I said, I don't expect it to be a tornado outbreak or anything. And the radar coverage is horrible anyways. So, like I mentioned here, you got one radar here, one here, and one here. So really perfect radar hole. Southern New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts. And I bet that's where all of our severe weather's going to happen for tomorrow. So just to go over this one more time here, may even go over it more than one time, but just one time right now. So that's your main risk there. Huge marginal all the way up from Pennsylvania down through Texas today, and then a huge marginal for tomorrow as well. And both today and tomorrow have slight risks for severe weather. So quite the threat for damaging winds, as per usual across the eastern U.S., is anticipated for tomorrow. So these storms out here right now across southwestern Tennessee, if you are in these severe thunderstorm warned areas, you probably know the drill at this point. Stay away from doors and windows. Make sure you are close to your safe spot just in case that lightning gets a little bit too crazy, or the winds get a little bit too rough, or the hail gets a bit large. You can always go to that safe spot just in case. Now, tornadoes are not possible with these storms at the moment. It doesn't seem like this is a storm mode favorable for tornadoes. So this mainly is very, very frequent lightning, really frequent lightning, some small hail, maybe isolated large hail up to 1.5 inches in diameter, and then 60-mile-an-hour winds. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1.5-inch hail, and very frequent lightning is the main hazards with these storms. Now, those likely won't have much of a chance to produce tornadoes, but if we do get some more discrete storms like this a bit further to the northeast and a little bit later when our wind shear is better, that's going to be our best chance for tornadoes. Yeah, right now this storm not in a very favorable environment for tornadoes. Let's see your wind shear. Yeah, not very favorable for tornadoes this far to the southwest. Your best environment is definitely located up here. So up in, let me redraw that, up in this area for the next couple hours. I mean, really all the way till like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is going to be more of an overnight event too. Yeah, all the way until like 2, 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. There's going to be a pretty good environment in this area. We did just get a new meso-analysis, so the environment will be most favorable from now all the way till 10 o'clock. And then when the sun sets, the environment gets a little bit less favorable, but still favorable for tornadoes. So this is your surface observations. Right off the bat, you're going to notice we've definitely got a bit of a large temperature dew point spread here. Talking about 10 to 15 degrees. So it's, like I said, it's not a favorable environment for like strong tornadoes or anything like that. We're just talking about a brief spin up tornado or two as we go towards the very late evening hours, very early night hours later today. And that instability, very favorable instability. You can see a really good cold front setup here. Very sharp cold front. A plentiful amount of instability, especially out here in Kentucky. That's really the main area I'm watching for tornadoes today. Plentiful amount of instability. Wind shear, 0 to 1 kilometer. You could see really focused in this corridor. That seems to be where your best wind shear is correlated with instability. Now you have a lot higher wind shear up here in Ohio, Pennsylvania, but there's no storms there and it's not as favorable with other ingredients. Now 0 to 3 kilometer SRH, that's actually not as high as I was thinking. I'm a little bit surprised that's so low. So definitely not the utmost favorable environment right now for tornadoes. Now as we go maybe 2 hours into the future, see if this gets any better for 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. So 2 to 4 hours, you could see it does get a bit more favorable towards far eastern Kentucky into West Virginia. So that's probably where our best chance for tornadoes are. But again, it's just a spin-up tornado or two being possible. Nothing more than that. Just a spin-up tornado or two. Lower level lapse rate's really good. You've had so much daytime heating with minimal cloud cover. Those lapse rates are going to be very high, but that's also contributed to a very high temperature dew point spread because your dew points are in the mid to upper 60s and your temps are now up into the mid 80s. Should be very favorable. Yeah, downdraft cape really favorable. So you're very favorable for 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. I believe the severe watch says 70 mile an hour winds likely on the new watch. Yes, it does. 70 mile an hour winds likely. So there you go. And a little bit further east for those who may be wondering, back out towards like the risk out here in Pennsylvania. Again, not as favorable with other ingredients like instability. Not nearly as favorable. And I think those storms are expected to be a lot more scattered thunderstorms. Yeah, very scattered thunderstorms. So not a lot of people are going to be seeing rainfall out there in Pennsylvania and Ohio today. It's very scattered, whereas back in Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, it's a lot more widespread for severe weather. Yeah, so these severe thunderstorms, like I said, still capable of about 1.25-inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds, very frequent lightning, very heavy rain. Give me just when did that decide to mute itself? When did that mute itself? Yo, what? What in the world? Thankfully, I was looking at chat. What? I don't have a. I literally, I'm looking at it right now. Mute microphone, click to bind. There's no bind for me to mute my microphone. What did I hit? Wow. Interesting. That doesn't happen often in my live streams at all. So I don't know when you guys stopped hearing me there, but what I was saying was I can't really tell you exactly when thunderstorms are going to be rolling through your area because these are more kind of like summertime pop-up thunderstorms. I can tell you when the cold front's going to come through, which is currently located. Just make sure I'm not muted again magically. Okay, that's good. It's located generally back here is where your cold front is. So these storms will get to you at about 9 o'clock Central Time. So that's when your greatest chance for severe storms will be. But there's other storms in front, like these over here, that may get to you before then. So you'll have to watch for those as well. Can't believe I muted myself. Very rarely does that ever happen. I'm very curious to know how that happened because I wasn't even on Streamlabs to be able to hit that button, so it had to be a key. 57 seconds of being muted. That's crazy. That is crazy. Rare moment. Very rare moment right there. This storm is definitely capable of producing 50 to 60 mile-an-hour winds. You could see those velocities probably up in the 40 to 50 mile-an-hour range on radar. So very much capable of producing 50 to 60 mile-an-hour wind gusts there going into Campton, Kentucky. Make sure you're away from doors and windows. I think that is a new severe warning, right? Let's see here. Otherwise, it's being a little bit buggy today. I'll have to refresh it again. I really need to get the app. Yeah, they just went severe warning on that. They just went severe. So that's a new severe warning. Also another one down here for 1.25-inch hail, 60 mile-an-hour winds. So like I said, a lot of these storms are capable of small hail, 60 mile-an-hour wind gust. And the biggest threat with them is just the crazy amount of heavy rain and very frequent lightning. So please stay indoors if you're in these severe warnings. And yeah, don't go under the overpasses. That's been a big issue recently, especially this year. A big issue with people going under overpasses. So don't do that. This hail isn't going to be really, really large. Now, there's a chance it could put a few dents in your car if you're going 70 miles per hour and you don't slow down on the interstate. But if you slow down to, a little bit under that, don't go too slow, because I've seen some people go freaking 30 miles per hour in the heavy rain. I'm like, dude, you're on the interstate and the highway. Why are you going so slow? It's just rain. So don't slow down too much to the point where you become a hazard. And that's why you don't want to stop under those overpasses. That's very bad. I'm looking forward to a snowy back half to winter. Who's going to tell, bro? Man, who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him that ain't going to happen? Dude thinks it's going to be snowy in winter. Come on. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, I got to get researching winter, though. We're going to be in a neutral phase. Probably closer to La Nina, considering we're in a La Nina watch right now. Probably going to be on that more cooler side. So La Nina definitely going to bring a better environment further north. Not thinking we'll see any snow in Florida this year. Not too confident in that. Alright, see you later, Legacy. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you have a great time, and hopefully it doesn't rain. Yeah, best chance for snow this year will probably be focused across the Great Lakes. Probably back up here. I ain't going to give you my winter forecast because I ain't done it. I don't even have it made yet. But probably the main snow this season, of course, we're going to have those clippers that come in. So definitely across the northern portion of the U.S., like right in here is probably going to be the main snow threats this year into early next year. Obviously, the main winter season. We'll probably have one or two that sneak by and push into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, or North Carolina and Virginia. But unfortunately, if you are here, if you are anywhere in this area, that continues all the way to the West Coast, obviously. But this area below this white line, you're probably not gonna see much this winter. Unless we are talking about like mountains in North Carolina, mountains in Kentucky, mountains in West Virginia. You guys are still going to see snow. But if you're in like Piedmont, North Carolina, Southern Virginia, much of Tennessee, much of Arkansas, much of Missouri, depending, I don't know how far north, but much of Missouri, much of Oklahoma, much of Kansas, probably not going to get much at all this season. Now, like I said, we might get one winter storm that sneaks through somewhere in here and gets, a couple 100,000 people very lucky, but it's not going to be the best winter for that type of pattern. Yeah, I wouldn't be expecting much snow. I'm not expecting much in Southern Virginia. We'll be lucky if we escape with 3 inches of snow this season. We'll see how much snow I get, but I would definitely be on the lower side. We got like 7 inches last winter, 2023 to 2024 winter. We got like 7, 8 inches of snow. It was really good. Now, ice storms is a different story. We're going to probably see a couple of those. I think ice storms are going to end up being a big talk of the town across this area. We always get ice storms in this region. Every year we get ice storms in this region, but I think there's a better chance from this upcoming winter. So, man, I already know what I'm doing for my winter forecast. I can already envision it right now. Now you guys got me talking about snow. Are there going to be any nor'easters this year in the Northeast? Probably one, maybe two, but really, I mean, last year, I say did we even get one? I don't think we had one nor'easter last year. I think we could get one or two nor'easters. Now, I will say this. There may be a better chance for even more than 2 nor'easters if we don't get anything in the Gulf. That's huge. If we don't get anything in the Gulf, hurricane season wise, that's absolutely huge. That is going to fuel a really good winter for people way up in the northeastern U.S. and the northern U.S. And probably increase the chances across much of the central U.S. too. So, considering our hurricane season, it doesn't really have any signs of waking up anytime soon. It's looking like a repeat of 2013 over here. Probably going to end up with a really good chance for some big time snowstorms across the northern U.S. Like I said, up here. Really up here. And then if that does, say we don't even see a single hurricane enter the Gulf, that may be pushed even a little bit further south. Our main kind of jet stream. So we're going to see a dominant high pressure over the southwest. That's always a given. It's pretty much a given every season. So your main jet stream is probably going to be towards the central U.S. So something like that. That's probably going to be our main jet stream. And that's going to deliver, our main snow further up to maybe these areas. I don't know about that. It just depends on temperatures, but definitely up here. Definitely up here. Definitely going to get some good snowstorms. Now, I don't know about nor'easters because when you talk about nor'easters, that's like a storm that rides up the East Coast and then goes up like that, right? A nor'easter, in my opinion, is when you start having like widespread winter storms across much of this area, and then you end up with a couple blizzard warnings. Although I do know blizzard warnings are fairly rare in the northeastern U.S. because the classification for those are very high. Don't forget subtropical jet. Yep. That's what's going to help give us our moisture. You're going to have your subtropical jet, which should be, where is that normally located? Somewhere in here. Something like that. And that's going to help fuel our our moisture there. And then also we'll have the Gulf, and if that just stays warm, that's going to bring up moisture. So another thing is we're not in an El Nino pattern, but because we are in a neutral, not a La Nina. If we go to a La Nina, what I'm about to say is about to be dead wrong. Severe weather. I think we will see a good chance for severe weather in the southern U.S. this winter. Now, I don't think we're seeing no crazy severe weather threat, but this region definitely is going to have a better chance for severe storms as opposed to last year for this upcoming winter. So we're going to have severe weather in the south, ice storms in the central U.S., and then in the middle, this is your main toss-up. So your main toss-up, like this area is going to be probably ice storms and maybe 1 or 2 good winter storms somewhere in that area. But the main question mark is really the Midwest. The Midwest. This area is the big question mark right in here. Because that's where you're in between the main jet stream and the warmer weather and the more above average precipitation. So severe weather in southern U.S., ice storms, and maybe 2 to 3 winter storms in that white area, and then kind of a toss up in that blue area. I wonder what the CPC has. Of course, I'll put all this onto a graphic. If you watch my winter forecast, I'll put it all up into a graphic for you to understand. A lot more simple than that. Yeah, but that's not going to be out till probably, I would love to wait till middle, if not latter half of October. I'm probably going to wait till the end of October. The CPC typically does their 3-month outlooks around the time frame of the 20th every month. So I would love to get it out towards somewhere like, I don't know, somewhere in the last week of October. That's when I would love to get my winter forecast out. Now, I could give you, if you guys really want it, I could give you a stupidly early one, because I know a bunch of YouTubers who have already put their winter forecast out, and even someone who's done already 2 to 3 winter forecasts. But I could give you like a really early preliminary one, and then we could come back to it, or I could just give you one full one. Did I miss any tropical report? Didn't really do too much with the tropics. The main tropical thing is Category 4 hurricane out here in the Eastern Pacific. And that's going to be going towards Hawaii, weakening, especially Sunday into Monday. And then it should impact Hawaii sometime probably going into Wednesday. And that's really our main story. 91L has just flopped. Now, if we look at our spaghetti models, there is still high confidence that this is going to be going towards the Lesser Antilles, which is why I said, regardless of development, we're probably going to see impacts in the Lesser Antilles, somewhere from Barbados back up towards Puerto Rico. But it looks less and less likely that we will see a tropical storm. Right now, it is still very much possible, 70% chance from the NHC. But they may even drop that further down. And there's one huge reason for that. And if I go ahead and show you here, which one are it? Which one are it? It is this one. It are this. Here. There you go. Do they have it? I don't even see it. There you go. Water vapor. Jeez. Okay, that is really dry. Yeah, that is your problem. Dry air. And this system is attached to a monsoonal trough. And it's not getting away from that monsoonal trough. And it's also being impacted by a secondary low pressure too. So really, it's just not able to form in the short term. And then by the time it gets into, the western main development region, that is going to be when it's in all the dry air. So the monsoonal trough is what's keeping it alive right now, but it's still attached to that, so it's not really developing much. It should be, I think it will be pretty well detached from that tomorrow. Yeah, it really gets removed from that tomorrow. And then the secondary low pressure impacts it on Monday. So the best chance for formation is Monday and Tuesday. But that's when the dry air gets to it. So I still think we could get a tropical storm out of it. So when that monsoonal trough kind of detaches from it, which will be closer to, let's see here. Sorry, I got completely distracted. So that will be, it'll completely detach tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Saturday. So tomorrow night, Sunday morning, detaches from the monsoonal trough. It goes out by itself, becomes a good low pressure. It hits that dry air, and depending on what happens then, if it can fight that dry air good enough, could become a tropical storm sometime. We're looking at closer to Tuesday, somewhere around the time frame of Tuesday. And as for that tropical storm to hit Hawaii, those impacts look to probably begin very late Monday night, going through all day Tuesday, and then even into early Wednesday. Tomorrow's severe threat, widespread 60-mile-an-hour winds across much of the eastern U.S. Hailstones definitely around an inch in diameter will be possible across much of the marginal slight risk area. Could see some hailstones up to 1.5 inch in diameter in the slight risk, as well as 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts being likely in the slight risk. I also believe we could see a few tornadoes in this area. And if a discrete storm can really get going with that environment, I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado tomorrow either. But I don't think we're seeing a tornado outbreak. I think we could see a couple tornadoes, most of which will be weak, and we could get that one supercell that latches onto a good environment all by itself, fully discrete, and it ends up producing a brief, strong tornado. Now, remember, strong tornadoes in EF2. So we're not talking about like EF4s and EF5s out here in the Northeast. I'm talking about a brief, strong tornado being possible. Speaking of strong tornadoes, out here in Southern Virginia, we had a 110 mile per hour is a EF2. Is it? Or is it 111? Now I gotta go look. It's 111. So 111 mile an hour winds. That is a EF2 tornado. And we had a unwarned high-end EF1 tornado out here south Boston in Virginia. Fully unwarned. I don't believe there was any type of warning with it. I don't think it was a severe. I don't think it was a special weather statement. And I know for a fact it wasn't a tornado warning. And that was rated high-end EF1, 105 mile an hour winds. But thankfully, it was very brief, and it looked to be in a relatively rural area. I don't know if Blacksburg has released additional information on that. Let's see if they have. They said they would be releasing additional info in the evening. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is going to take me too long to find. I'll find it later. But they may have released additional info on that. But yeah. Main threat for tomorrow is by far damaging winds. That's going to be really, really widespread over a very large area. 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. And that tornado threat is really going to be focused. This is the 2% tornado risk. But I do think they'll expand that further into Maine. And I think the main tornado risk, no pun intended, will be focused across this area. Western Massachusetts, southwestern New Hampshire, southeastern Vermont, eastern New York, northern Connecticut. I think that will be the main area for tornadoes tomorrow. It's not on DAT yet. There's another site that ends up bringing out the ratings earlier. Okay, that's what I was looking for. There it is. Not that. Okay, I got it. Let's see if they released anything. Oh, 19 minutes ago. 19 minutes ago. They just recently released it. Okay. An intense thunderstorm moved across southern Halifax County, Virginia during the afternoon hours of September 4th. A tornado formed within the area of straight line winds, touching down just west of Cherry Hill Church Road, then traveling east and lifting before reaching Arthur Ware Trail. The tornado snapped and uprooted. What? Am I reading this wrong? Snapped and uprooted 50 to 100 trees. Sorry. Sorry, what? That's something. That is definitely something. Touchdown at 4:51 and lifted at 4:52. What? So it ripped. I don't understand that. Apparently it snapped and uprooted 50 to 100 trees in the span of about 60 seconds. Okay. And now, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go to Radar Archive, and they said 4:52 or right around there is when it lifted. Yesterday, 4:52 and 2 seconds, we got a radar scan. There we go. Yeah, 4:51 is when it touched down, according to them. I'm trying to see what storm was moving through. Hold on a second. Do I have the wrong county? I may have the wrong county. Because I was saying South Boston. Halifax County. That is... I'm very sure that is South Boston. The reason why I say that is because apparently there was barely any rain. According to radar, at 4:52, most of the thunderstorms were well out of South Boston. Now, they may have made a mistake. I don't know if they did or not. We'll see if they correct that. At 3:51, there was a discrete supercell in this area, and I'm guessing that's what did it. I'm guessing they meant 3:51, not 4:50. Hold on. Yeah, I'm guessing they meant 3:51, not 4:51 for that touching down. Man, that thing had no velocity. That thing had no velocity, yeah. I hate how I missed a tornado, but that sucker went completely unnoticed by radar. No, they're in Eastern. Dude, it's Blacksburg. That's literally in the same time zone as me. I've literally been to this area. I've chased in this area. I mean, this... I'm pretty sure... I'm pretty sure, like, almost this whole entire area uses Eastern time. Like, a huge chunk of this area uses Eastern time. It just switches from Eastern time to Atlantic time. Once you go into the Atlantic, it just changes the name, but the time is still the same. I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know why they would be... I think it's just a little mistake. Unless I'm reading it incorrectly, but it clearly says 4:51 p.m. Eastern, and radar had a discrete supercell in that area where the tornado occurred at 3:51 Eastern yesterday. So, anyways, sorry I spent so long talking about a tornado near my area. I just really wanted to see what it got rated, because not too often we get tornadoes in Southern Virginia, especially ones that are completely unnoticed by both the National Weather Service and radar. But at least they were able to find the damage, and at least it seemed to be just over trees. But that's crazy. Apparently 50 to 100 trees were snapped and uprooted. I would love to see the damage photos on that. They'll probably put on the DAT tomorrow. Oh, also, the tornado warning we were covering up there in New York the other day, it did drop a tornado. So remember, it got tornado warning for Boonville, and I believe Livid pointed out a potential debris signature in Boonville. There was actually a tornado debris signature in Ava, New York, before it was warned. So we had an unwarned tornado in New York the other day. We were live for that. Just didn't know it happened. So it dropped a tornado, and then a couple minutes later, once the tornado lifted, the NWS issued a tornado warning. Like, it went tornado warned for Boonville, and the tornado lifted east of Ava. So if I go ahead and show you here, Ava is somewhere up in this area. Wait a minute. Where am I? Yeah, there's Ava. So the tornado lifted right here. I'm a little bit south, am I? Yeah. Yeah, it lifted actually like right here. That's where the tornado lifted. A bit east of Ava. And if you remember the stream the other day, we had a tornado warning for Boonville. So literally, like, just after it lifted, it got tornado warned. Literally just after that. But, yep. So, it was 54 this morning where I live. Yikes. I don't know how cold it got this morning here. That is crazy. I imagine it probably didn't drop under around 70 or so. Probably got to 60, 65. Actually, I can check. What am I doing? I can just check. Yeah. So at about 7 a.m., it was about 59, 60 degrees. Oh. I'm going to go see what my local weather station had. See how cold it got this morning. That cold front is no joke out in Missouri and Illinois. Y'all's peak temperatures are in the upper 60s. It's crazy nice out there. Really nice. So, yeah, so apparently it was 61 this morning. A little bit to my east, apparently it got to 55. Man. Pretty nice. Definitely fall-like temperatures, that's for sure. Definitely fall-like temperatures. I'm gonna get something else really quick. Yeah. Like I said, 15, yeah, 59 for me. I gotta save this site. This site is very, very useful. Go put it in my weather tab. Perfect. All right, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're about to wrap it up here. I'm actually going a little overtime on accident. So, yeah, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. If you did enjoy today's stream, make sure you share it with your family, friends, social media. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button so you know when I go live or upload another video. Still don't know when I'll be uploading another video. And the next live stream will either be Sunday or Monday. We'll just see how it goes. I do want to very quickly, just before I switch to the ending screen, I have to loop this. We got to appreciate this insane category 4 eye candy satellite imagery really quick. What are your thoughts on Oklahoma? For what? The state? I like Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a good state. If you're talking about temperatures, yeah, it's going to be very nice over the next few days. Really nice. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in either Sunday or Monday's live stream. And make sure you guys stay weather aware, stay safe. Just in general, very nice temperatures, that's for sure. I wish I could be over there. Really nice temperatures for the next 2-3 days. It's going to start getting hot once you go towards, let's see, Tuesday next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Enjoy the nice temperatures. It's about to get very hot. It is about to get very hot. But the good news is the moisture will be pretty low, so it won't be too, like, humid or muggy. And in terms of severe weather, probably no severe weather anytime soon. Rain chance today, rain chance tomorrow, but it's both very low. Overnight tonight, really. Overnight tonight's your best rain chance. And then it really doesn't look like much rain after that. Just very scattered. Tuesday, Wednesday, very scattered rainfall. Nothing crazy. No big time severe storms or anything like that. You see the freeze warnings in North Dakota? No, I did not. Yeah, we got freeze warnings in North Dakota. Jeez. Yep. Normal temperatures down towards 34, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. That is definitely cold. Long Island, New York, be a part of the tornado risk tomorrow. Very far western Long Island has a chance for severe weather. The more east you go, the lesser chance you have. The main tornado risk will be focused across western Massachusetts. All right. 1 minute outro music, just like the other day, because I rambled on for too long. But I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the mods from on chat. I'll see you guys in either Sunday or Monday's live stream. Just depends which one I end up streaming on. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Friday. Have a great Saturday, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Watch the fair weather in the tropics. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch the fair weather in the tropics. I'll see you guys in Sunday or Monday's live stream. Have a great rest of your Friday and Saturday. Again, thank you much for on chat. Goodbye.